I'm really impressed that this is happening midday, right in the middle of the flow of the day. Just was feeling inspired seeing the tiles pop on, that people are kind of prioritizing Dharma practice and taking in of the Dharma right in the middle of the day. So really wonderful. Let's practice together. And one thing that I've really starting to appreciate with as practice unfolds, as um, practice experience kind of builds, is that it's really hard to just go from the doing of the day and just sit down and then go right into a meditation. So I often find it very helpful to do some walking meditation, just a few moments of walking meditation to really get in the body and settle. So, if that feels good to you, I invite you to do that. I'll just guide us in a very brief body scan, and maybe also just brightening the mind. It's really helpful to do a little active cultivation of wholesome qualities in the mind so that the mind can actually settle, that there's some stability and the sweetness for the mind to kind of imagine like a cat with its fur up, getting to settle and calm a little bit. So, whether you're walking or sitting, mm, just invite you to gently orient towards the experience of embodiment, being of a body. And so, just as you're arriving, that might mean just doing a rough scan through the body and seeing if there are any gross levels of tension that can just be released consciously. Maybe the belly can be softened, back of the neck softened, and dropping into the sense of gravity, gently pulling you towards the earth. Allowing any areas of holding in the head area to soften, scalp, eyes, cheeks, jaw, allowing the neck and throat to soften. No need to struggle with any areas of holding. Just the intention to relax is plenty. Allowing the shoulders to soften, arms to hang from their sockets. Releasing down the upper arms, lower arms, and hands. Connecting to the sensations of the chest and upper back, softening. Allowing the diaphragm, tummy soften, abdomen, lower back, soften. Allowing the pelvis to relax and be heavy on the seat. Relaxing upper legs, knees, lower legs, feet. Just arriving into this body in this moment. And then taking a few moments to uh, gladden or brighten or sweeten the mind if it's available. Again, no need to get into a struggle if it's not. Just bringing to mind um, something that brings a sense of metta, kindness. It could just even be the thought of kindness itself. Might be a memory of kindness. Any sense of well-wishing or subtle well-being. Just noticing that. No need to push. And if it's feeling wholesome, supportive, to stay with this feeling of loving kindness, kindness can rest here. And we can shift our attention again back to the sense of the body sitting, our whole body resting on earth. Nothing to actually hold ourselves, rather touching into the ultimate truth that the ground is holding it all for us. and with us. And while holding this sense of the body sitting, can, at your own pace, allow the attention to open and include the sensations of the breath. Whole body sitting, sensations of the breath rising, falling within the field of the body. There is restlessness, many thoughts, agitation, or worry. Rather than trying to force the attention and awareness on the breath and the body, it's allowing for those energies to be present. Bring in a curiosity about what might relax. Maybe it's the body that could relax a little more deeply. Maybe it's the quality of the attention itself. Maybe the mind is diffuse, sleepy, or sinking. Knowing that it's sleepy, knowing that the mind is sleepy, is in fact doing the meditation. When there's a knowing of sleepiness, it's not so much of a barrier or obstacle. See if there is a way to increase the interest in the body and breath, this very breath, without having to get rid of sleepiness. And you notice that the mind has inevitably drifted, become involved with likely some mental activity. Just the noticing of it and remembering what we're up to here. Resting, connecting the body and breath right now. If there's some sense of resistance or conflict, whatever is arising, maybe a body sensation or ungovernability of the mind. Maybe the resistance can be acknowledged and the resistance itself can be allowed and relaxed around. And to close our practice for now, if it felt good to connect with kindness, to metta, you can return to that. Or you may wish to dedicate the merits of your practice. Oh, if there's anybody who's in need of support or care, group of people or beings, bringing them to mind. May they experience the benefits of this practice as their own. Thank you for that. Um, so I I did come prepared with a little dharmet, like a little dharma sharing. Um, and I really want to make sure there's time for questions. Maybe I'll just open it up briefly and see, are there any burning questions about practice right now or what we just did before I go into sharing some reflections? Mm, okay. If they come up, or if you're, would rather type it in the chat, please feel free to do that. I came across this sutta that I hadn't read before that I wanted to just share with you a part of it and some reflections that came out of it. Suttas are the Pali term for sutras or the Buddha's teachings that have been set down. And the setting for this particular sutta is actually very sweet. It opens up with a monk who is uh, ended his day and is has gone to the hot springs and is kind of soaking his limbs. And this deva comes down to him, and devas are kind of um, celestial beings, kind of spirits, benevolent spirits, who can, are on the earthly plane and heavenly realms in the Buddhist cosmology. So this radiant deva comes and lights up the whole hot springs with her presence. And she asks the monk, uh, have you have you committed to memory? Have you memorized the teachings on an auspicious day? And he said, no, I haven't. Have you memorized the teachings on an auspicious day? And she said, no, I haven't. And she said, it would be really good if you learned the teachings and memorized the teachings on an auspicious day, because it's directly related to what we're doing here as is in your spiritual pursuit. So the monk agreed and went and found the Buddha and asked the Buddha for the teachings on the auspicious day. And the Buddha replied in verse form, which sometimes he was known to do. So I wanted to share the verse with you, and whether you commit it to memory, it's up to you. I'll leave you the where you can find it at the end. I find it quite beautiful. You shouldn't chase after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is as yet unreached. Whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there, right there. Not taken in, unshaken. That's how you develop the heart. Ardently doing what should be done today, for who knows, tomorrow, death. There's no bargaining with mortality and his mighty horde. Whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly, both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. So says the peaceful sage. I just find that so beautiful. And when I read it, I had so many reflections come up. The monk goes on to find another monastic to kind of expound on this verse. And since it's a brief time we can meet today, I'll just leave the where you can find it. You can read the how it's been explained to the monk. I just wanted to share some of the reflections that was coming up for me as I read it. He opens quite plainly, you shouldn't chase after after the past or place expectations on the future. What is past is left behind. The future is as yet unreached. And maybe that's like one of the more pervasive ways that delusion shows up, that the past is a real thing, that the future is a real thing, when in fact it's only ever a present moment arising in the mind. The past is a thought of the past. The future is a thought of the future. And yet we can reside in those thoughts as though they are reality. And when we kind of turn towards this kind of way that we overlay our experience with a sense of past and future, uh, our conceptualizing mind can also kind of think of present moment as this really narrow sliver of time, like that it's just this metronome beat that we have to kind of nail with our mindfulness and presence. But in fact, when the mind does settle on present moment, it's seen for what it is, which is vast, this vast, loamy uh, field of possibility and potential, the potential for cultivating uh, a wholesome mind. It's a way out, and it's a way towards something quite beautiful. And it's experienced almost immediately when we do touch into the present. So the Buddha goes on to say, whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there, not taken in, unshaken. That's how you develop the heart. So he's giving us a practice instruction there, saying whatever quality is present, you clearly see right there. So, what does this mean? He says, not taken in or unshaken. And maybe it's sometimes easier for us to go backwards from when we are taken in, when we are shaken, and what that experience is like, and kind of understand, you know, dial back from there. So how does the mind get taken in? How does the mind get shaken? And one way that it's talked about in the teachings is that our experience at any given moment is constructed from sensory input. Uh, the five senses: tasting, touching, smelling, hearing. Uh, I'm leaving one out. I can't remember what I just said. But the five senses, and then and and then there's the sixth sense store of the mind and thought production. So seeing sees sights, smelling smells. The mind thinks thoughts. And through those sensory inputs, there is the possibility of having gratification through those inputs. It's possible to experience pleasurable experiences that are just off the map, you know, deeply pleasant, deeply satisfying experiences. This is the potential for gratification in through sensory experience. The Buddha, however, uh, emphasizes the importance of recognizing the gratification of the senses, but not only that, seeing the danger in them. But what's so dangerous about pleasant sensory experience? It's like, I remember I was talking with a practitioner who got very uh, um, upset because they really enjoy ice cream. And when they heard this teaching, was really not for it. And so, what's the danger in it? And the danger is that the gratification ends. There's no sustaining a satisfying experience that's received through sense contact. It will end. And the tendency of the mind is when there's a pleasurable experience, even when there's a painful experience, the mind wants to go to it and land there, identify it, seize it, absorb into it, and grows dependent on that experience. So it's like we're hanging our happiness on the pleasurable sense experience. And sometimes it's a little confusing because there can be a lot of painful experience arising, like painful sense of self. And so the gratification's a little bit hard to see, but it's like there's maybe some gratification in it's safer to beat up on oneself or criticize oneself, or it's familiar sense of self, and the familiar is actually gratifying, or um, or we can absorb into a sense of being right or knowing how things actually are. And there's many different ways that the mind seeks and grows dependent on that sense gratification. And the Buddha says that's dangerous because when that falls away, as it inevitably does, we're left despondent, despairing, disappointed, and then yearning for more pleasurable experience. Um, and then the Buddha says that there's an escape to that. We don't have to rely, we don't have to place our happiness or contentment or um, sense of being all right or okay on just the next hit of gratifying experience. That when there's a recognition of the danger of absorbing into these gratifying experiences, that the mind will naturally grow disenchanted with it, will naturally understand, yeah, this is really pleasurable. That's undeniable. And yet it's going to end, and that will be okay too. And that becomes ever more the inclination of the mind, is to say hello to pleasurable experiences and then let them go without trying to accrue, without trying to absorb or become. Finally, the Buddha says, ardently doing what should be done today, for who knows tomorrow death. There is no bargaining with mortality and his mighty horde. So the Buddha very frequently encouraged practitioners to contemplate death, contemplate our mortality. And there's a lot of conditioning in our culture to not do that. And that becomes the habit of the mind. In the teachings, the Buddha talks about, mostly brings it up as a way to create this, what he uses, he's saying ardently. We need to be doing things ardently, open, full-heartedly, engaging with our practice. And so bringing reflections of our impermanence, our own impermanence to mind has a way of um, bringing an alertness, an aliveness to this exploration, an attentiveness. And it's not an alarm. It's not, doesn't have the flavor of alarm. It has the flavor of ardency, of um, um, yeah, a warmth to it. So that's another way that we get conditioned, is that death is this cold, harsh reality, when in fact how it lands in the heart. And yes, we do have to move through the layers of conditioning around how we've been taught to orient towards our death. But when the heart moves through those waves of fear, what we see ever growing is actually beautiful opening, uh, connectedness, a willingness to show up. So the Buddha ends by saying, whoever lives thus ardently, relentlessly, both day and night, has truly had an auspicious day. And when we can bring into mind with frequency gratification, the danger, and the escape, with this full-heartedness, this enthusiasm, um, that's what sustains the practice. Not like um, a harsh doing. And it is in fact what brings us an auspicious day, because it's a day that's filled with cultivation that actually brings about a release in the heart. Not just the avoidance of, bad experience, unpleasant experience, but the heart that meets all experience in this ardent way. That's a truly, it's a day well spent. I'll rest there, and thank you for your attentiveness and your practice. I really touched that people are dropping in the middle of the day, because I feel like I'm preaching to the choir around ardency. you know, um, so I'll, I'll just pause. Reading the Buddha, it's Maha. I can't remember the name of the monk. I don't want to misquote it. So um, it's Majjhima Nikaya 133, if you're curious to read it yourself. There's a senior monk who explains the verses. Um, so I'll pause here and see if there's any questions about practice, any reflections. I always find that this part of opening up to reflections from practitioners is really what makes the field complete. I've just shared a piece of it. Our practice was a primary component of it, and then these sharings from the field are really what complete the experience. So if you feel so moved, please do raise your hand.
I also, just FYI, made you a co-host, Louije, so hopefully people can message you directly. I've been getting some message, just folks saying thank you so much. Madison said they really needed that meditation. And so yeah, but I've made Luigi a co-host, so hopefully if folks want to drop them a line directly, you can do that. And there is a request to put in the chat. If you could type out the sutta, or someone was that? Oh, you. Wonderful. Thank you. So that's in the chat for us now, everyone. and I'll just drop in my 2 cents and say that Dharma really packed a punch, and I am so grateful for such a powerful message in such a brief time.
I
And
just want to say too, thank you so much for this practice today and posting the sutta on the comment line. Thank you so much. Very wonderful for a short and brief amount of time, really powerful. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I received another direct message from Kristen saying, thank you. You have a very lovely and such a gentle voice.
Sean, I see your hand raised. Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for your spirit, your calmness, kindness. I really enjoy how slow you speak. It's really helpful for me to be able to take in the message and let it seep in. Um, so thank you. And I have a question. One of my, I hear a lot about manifestations and, dreaming, and so putting it into a healthy perspective about, not having an expectation on the future when it comes to like manifesting and, wanting the best, setting goals. And I want to know what your thoughts are on that. That's a question that came up when I was hearing about, not let yourself get too, not let the future be full of expectations. Um, and then this idea of manifesting and setting dreams and goals for your future. Do you have any thoughts about that? What comes to mind?
Yeah, Sean, really great question. The thing that comes to mind is really the intention with which we're making setting goals or intending for the future. Because of course we cultivate now things that will help us in the future. And the Buddha is very clear about things that are done with the underlying intentions of greed or aversion or not understanding clearly, or in an effort to try to solidify something or become someone, that will ultimately inevitably kind of contribute to some degree of suffering. So when we are making intentions for the future, it's really helpful to be very clear that the intentions based in metta, kindness towards self. It's good to prepare and try to um, to see the doctor to make sure that your health is good for tomorrow. It's important to do what you need to stabilize for yourself as much as possible when you're more frail in the future. Like those are all important things for us as lay people to do. It's really the quality of the mind with which we're engaging in those kinds of activities. Like, is it coming out of care and concern, or is it coming out of like a habitual yearning for something to be different than it is? Is it coming out of this craving for stability that cannot be found, that is just not real, you know? So it depends, I think, Sean. Um, and often, those intentions are very mixed, and so we just want to be clear about them and see the danger in um, hope, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that maybe we have time for one brief question.
Hi, this is Melissa. Sorry, my camera's not on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Hi.
Hi. Hi, thank you so much for that practice. That was super, super helpful and soothing for me today. I guess kind of a vague but also quick question. In terms of the practice and the teachings, when we are, aware of this attachment we have to aversions and we're watching the mind kind of spinning around and trying to be calm with it and be mindful with it, but it's just not happening for us. What would be, I guess, the guidance in those situations?
Mhm. Yeah, the instructions are to be, I mean, in short, just the knowing of the aversion. Also, again, being aware of the intention behind trying to calm down. So, the calming of the body and the mind support clear seeing and support clear seeing of impermanence, of suffering, of non-identification, of not self. And so, and that is the purpose of calm. But we can get attached to calm, and when things are agitated, we can kind of try to come in with our Dharma skills and try to, wrestle a calm experience from it. And that is, again, likely coming out of mixed intentions of like loving kindness towards ourselves, but also like an aversion to whatever is disturbing the mind. It's just being really clear and knowing the aversion. I don't like this. I'm craving calm. And just holding it in awareness with the intention, like, yeah, calming myself is probably a skillful thing to do in this moment. Can there be a moving towards calm that's not about resisting the experience, but about doing something a little bit more skillful? So the intention of letting go of the aversion, letting go of the trying to get the greed, that's really where some kind of radical honesty with ourselves and how we're showing up is helpful. So I'm up against the time. I hope that spoke
Yeah,
to your
it
question.
did. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. Thank you all so much. I wish you well for the rest of your day. Thank you for practicing with me.
Thank you so much, Luigi. And I dropped a few links in the chat to the sutta, the live stream link if you'd like, and also the link for Lunchtime Mindfulness. Next week, we have Kimber, who is currently teaching a retreat at BBRC right now. So please join us, tell your friends. And yeah, thanks for such a great practice today, Luigi.
Thank you all.
Everyone have an auspicious day.